Hey there, YouTubeistas. This is an experiment in that I'm not going to put my talking head in a rectangle as I've done on every other video pretty much in my chat room. I'm just going to show the screen. This is more the style when I teach over the web or over the internet using the Zoom and whatever else I use. It's usually like this. It's the screen with, some tabs open like this in a browser. And this is just an ordinary web browser. This is looking at my School of Tomorrow through a public resource called NB Viewer. If you've got any Jupyter notebooks, say on GitHub or anywhere public where you could go there by URL and see it yourself, that would render as JSON if you don't have the right kind of server to interpret it and turn it into a pretty formatted notebook. That's what NB Viewer does. So all it needs to do is be able to find the URL that you're talking about. Typically that's on GitHub, but it doesn't have to be. That's where mine are. I have this whole thing free for you if you want to grab it and start hacking on it and changing it. You can change these cells. Now let me show you what that looks like when we're outside of read only. So in my browser still, I already have the what do you call it, the server already running locally. So I could do this in a tunnel, on a train, no internet access, and using this free software that I grab from anaconda.org. Now that's funded partly by DARPA. I don't know if that's a problem for you. Python in general has gotten some boosts from DARPA, including the early GUI, the first GUI. This is the GUI of tomorrow in some ways. It's not really the same as a GUI. It's for doing what we call literate programming, where you embed right in the notebook your plots, your pictures. This is some of the stuff we were going through last night with tip of the hat to Jake Vanderplas, who does an excellent open source curriculum. I use some of his examples. I want my students to work with professional code. He's good. So School of Tomorrow, as you know, if you've watched my previous videos, I have like my heroes, like we do, right? Like my three big male heroes, if we want to care about gender or male female, the Buckminster Fuller, Ludwig Wittgenstein, and Walt Disney, I think, would be way up there as three of my top favorites. They're all somewhat contemporary, right? And had a direct impact on my life. So I'm not really, I know there are many, many great people in this world. And to just name three, you think, well, what about all these other people? But that's not it. It's more that I'm a finite individual myself. So when I want to read and study and go into the work of various people, I need to limit myself if I really want to go fairly deeply. And I've gone pretty deeply into Wittgenstein and Fuller. I don't claim the same level of depth when it comes to Walt Disney, partly just because I suck when it comes to drawing. I don't really do great drawings. I do have some political cartoons that I think I've shared in previous videos. In fact, I know I have. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to share about this free technology that you say you're in high school aged, and you want to start mastering the skills relating to many skills, okay? Not just any kind of mathematics. You're interested in web development. You need to understand more about HTML. So you can drop in Giphies with embed. You can cause a cell to be interpreted not as Python computer code, but as HTML markup. And then the cells themselves, the ones that we compose to put in links, like here's a link up here, goes back to the home page. This you do in something called Markdown. Now all of these technologies are very well documented, and there are tons of YouTubes about all of these, right? So this is not a YouTube trying to teach you all of pandas or everything there is to know about even radioactive decay, but that's what I've been, as an example, studying. Because why? Because School of Tomorrow, we have this nostalgic footage of when people were really looking forward to the atomic age and how nuclear power was going to solve all our problems and, our friend the atom. And it's fun to go back and watch all that retro stuff, right? It takes us back. Even if you didn't ever see that stuff, it's worth looking at. So we study the history of how atom and atomic power, how all that has been propagandized one way or another, right? Kind of I won't say it's always junk science. Sometimes it's just marketing. You're just trying to, and Oregon State University, which is close by to where I am here, they've specialized in collecting precisely that material. How has atomic energy and everything atomic been marketed down through the ages? And by the ages, not since very long, right? Because this is pretty new knowledge. Oregon State University. Check out their library, their special collections. It's either on the 5th or the 7th floor. They may still have the actual museum in glass cases of some of this material. Hopefully, because that was really excellent. I think it's probably still there. I'm in 2019 right now. So that's what I mean when I go in my other videos into more depth around Jupyter Labs, Jupyter Notebooks. It's pretty much the same technology, labs and notebooks. It's just that Jupyter Notebooks is a little bit older, and it's for working more or less with one notebook at a time. Whereas in Jupyter Lab, we are jumping around between notebooks more easily. But it doesn't make a huge amount of difference, because in Jupyter Labs, the tabs to get to your different notebooks are right here in one web page. Whereas in Jupyter Labs, you can still have tabs to the different notebooks that you're working on, 5 or 6, let's say, but they're just tabs at the browser level. So the tabs move up out of this window and into the browser level. So in a lot of ways, but there are other things you can do in Jupyter Labs, I should say, in Jupyter Labs. Check out the YouTubes, watch the demos. Either way, you'll get them both with the Anaconda distro, which I'll end on. Again, this has received some DARPA support, and if you have some philosophical issues with that, I do understand. I push it. I think it's a great technology, and here's Jupyter Lab and Jupyter Notebook side by side. You also get the R language if you want it, VS Code, Microsoft's free Visual Studio Code, which is very popular. A lot of people using that. And what else? Spider, which for some reason, there it is, right in the middle. Great IDE for interactive development environment, for teaching especially. It's got a lot. If you want to share your screen, there are certain things about presentation of an IDE for people watching versus just coding by yourself in a solo environment. There's some things about Spider I really like if I have to share Python code. Whereas if I'm by myself, maybe coding for myself or coding alone, then I might use a different IDE. Just a thought. You don't always have to use the same one. Maybe I'll use VS Code in that case. Anyway, just chit-chatting with you. Check out School of Tomorrow. I'll put a link in the comments. It's based on the movie The House of Tomorrow, and it's all about Buckminster Fuller. If you hear those crows in the background, it's a hot sunny day. I'm going to go get on my bike now and ride to my Thursday meetup. Talk to you later.